Hello and welcome to Tell Me How You Did It. I'm Namrata Zakaria and I'm here to bring to you my handpicked list of some of India's finest brands. Yes, our best homegrown companies that can compete with the world's best and still win the battle hands down. These companies range from food, fashion, and film to home, art, and design. I'm only too happy to talk to the founders who not only chased their rainbows, they also made India proud. Make sure you tune in at htsmartcast.com week after week to shake the hands that built our best businesses. Listen to them tell me how they did it. Artisanal fashion, where clothing is made by hand, is all the rage the world over. Every label is telling us they support handloom fabric or sustainable livelihoods or are saving the planet. Varana may be a latecomer to this party, but it's definitely changing the game. Its founder, Sujata Keshavan, wants to dress the world in Indian handmade textiles. It doesn't seem like a tall ask if you see the kind of clothing they make. Luxurious contemporary wear, trench coats, structured dresses, wide leg pants, and what have you. They have found favor with not only Indian celebrities, but international ones as well. And oh, did I mention that Varana is only 3 years old? Sujata, welcome to Tell Me How You Did it.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here today.
Congratulations on the Sharon Stone leg up. First, tell me, how did you get her to wear your dress to Cannes of all places?
So it was just one of those nice serendipitous things. I think her stylist had come to the store and chosen a few pieces for her. And she was actually planning to go to Venice. And so she had taken, they had selected a few outfits for her, but then she ended up wearing it at Cannes instead. So either way, we're fine. We're not complaining.
We
We
are
were
very
quite
fine.
delighted. Yes, absolutely. It's lovely to dress somebody like Sharon Stone.
And also
Fantastic.
Sonam Kapoor. She's been
Yes.
spotted wearing your gorgeous dresses lately. Is it a collaboration or did she discover you? Because she does, promote a lot of Indian boutiques in London, like Sridhar Podar, who makes his store is, I think, called Evoke London, and he makes these charpoys that she's reaching. Her house has recently been featured in AD, and she went out and
Yes.
purchased his charpoys. So, what's the story with Sonam and Varana?
Again, it's just that, so most of these, when it comes to fashion, I think when it comes to home, also people tend to use, I know she used Rushad Shroff to design her apartment, but there are bits and bobs here and there that you pick up if you like something. And, when it comes to fashion, I think at least the way they discover us is usually through their stylist. So if the stylist comes to the store, because they're always looking for something, interesting for their clients. And so her stylist had come to the store, and I think he was in touch with one of my colleagues at Varana, whom he knew socially or something like that. Anyway, so he came to the store and he found some things that he thought she would like, and that he thought she would like the brand and what it stood for and so on, and the aesthetic of the brand. So then she came over and spent quite a long time and went over a lot of things. And then we sent them over to her home. And, then they've been using, every other day I've been told that, this skirt, she wore this skirt to this gallery, or she wore different things. And it's great because, I really think it's important. For people like her to shine a light on these things so that, it's good because it helps get the word out and it'll help us in the long term. So it's good.
Of course, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Sujata, what about Sujata Keshavan Part 1? I want to ask you how you made the shift from running, Ray and Keshavan, India's leading design firm, and you had a long and glorious career with them. And now when you're into your 50s, into this lovely new phase, I mean, to have a whole shift into fashion, to get into a new venture, um, what made you do this?
It's, how you've heard the saying, fools rush in where angels fear to tread, right? I think the fact that it was so new, it just happened because, as you said, I've been in Rain Keshwan in that kind of work for about 30 years. And I set up one of the first design firms that was like a world-class professionally
It was
run design.
legendary.
Yeah. So
Yes.
and were doing so much work, and we really, I think we opened up that whole field in India, because after that, quite a lot of people now, I see that's quite a lot of people now working in branding and design and things like that. And when we started, it was after we were like, there was nobody, so we were the first people to introduce all these ideas. And
There was no Instagram, no Pinterest, no internet.
there was no internet, there were no computers.
Yeah.
And I brought the first Mac to India, by the way.
Oh my
And that,
God.
yes, in the mid 80s. And nobody knew what it was. It was, so everything was done by hand before that. There was, type compositing was done by hand. And so I actually come from a pre-computer era. So my entire, when I studied design, there were no computers. Then computers came in, and then we got digital. And then of course the internet came in. Oh my God, what all we've seen. But in that whole journey, I mean, we did a huge amount of work for a very long period of time. And I was just thinking, how, like it was time to think about what happened next, because like my children were not interested in taking over. There was no such succession. I had to think of some kind of succession. And so I couldn't find the right person to take over. For a long time, I looked for like in a lawyer's firm, how you find a junior partner and they take over. But somehow you need a special blend of qualities to do something like Rain Keshwan, because it's not just about creating the design, but it's also understanding the client and the business and relating to everything. And so you need to have that as well in order to give the right solution. So
Are there common threads between graphic design and fashion?
I think there are common threads across design. For me, I think whether it's architecture or product or fashion or textiles, or there's some things get like there are sort of, you emphasize a little more on some things sometimes. So in graphic design is more conceptual, and you emphasize a lot on, you have to get a concept and communicate it. But there's always form and function, no matter
Yeah.
what,
Yeah.
and there's a reason for doing what you're doing. And so the process of design is very it's broadly the same. You just adapt it for different things. Sometimes it's more three-dimensional, sometimes more two-dimensional. So if it's a architecture, the scale is larger. But essentially the type of work that you do, which is a mixture of a little bit of problem solving and aesthetics together, and the creative sort of action is similar. So it doesn't matter. I mean, there are some designers who like to go deep only into one thing, but there's some who don't mind, doing different things. And I guess I fall into the second category.
I'm intrigued by the term you use, problem solving. I mean, one doesn't hear of it in any form of design. I mean, the idea of art is uh, to please or to be memorable. How does problem solving fit in?
So in design, it's very important. Problem solving. So in fashion, I think, again, everything is a spectrum, right? So you have fashion that pulls more towards art, which is like, when you have an absolutely spectacular piece and it's like a show-stopping piece, and it's where, the designer is very expressive, and it's almost like a piece of art, he's doing a sculpture or a painting, and it's guided by an inner conviction, like
Yeah.
if you were to write poetry, or you were to be an artist or a sculptor. And that is different from what I do, because I don't pull towards the art spectrum as much as I come from the design spectrum. And in design, you always have form and function. So it's very
Absolutely.
important for me that in whatever we do, whether it's in Rain Keshwan, whether it's in Varana, or whether it's in a home, or whatever it is, it has to be practical, and it has to be uh, something that is combines form and function, and that is just the bedrock of design. So the kind of design I do, you don't do something that's going to be really uncomfortable, and you're looking at the woman through her day. If she's going to go to work, what does she need? So it's not about making that one spectacular piece. It's about supporting the woman through her day, irrespective of what she needs, keeping her stylish, keeping her contemporary, and making her feel good, giving her high quality, all of those things. So I don't know if that distinction is clear between art and design.
Well, it's ideal, that's for sure. I personally love Varana. I love everything it does for Indian handlooms by making it expensive, a luxury label. It's sold in, one of the poshest neighborhoods of London. I love that it takes the finest Indian textiles, and I've been following your work now for a year, and it marries them with, your designers come from Italy, or with your cashmere they come from Japan, and it sells in London and the rest of the world. So the Indian handloom is now truly a global product at Varana. How did you arrive at this idea?
So for very many years, Namrata, I've been thinking about the fact that we have such a lot in India to offer the world. It's just the depth. And I've been interested in textiles and in our textile traditions for at least 30 or 40 years. I mean, always, ever since I can remember. And definitely ever since I started studying design. Uh, I was absolutely amazed at, just look at our saris and the weaves from village to village. There's difference.
Yeah.
There's just
Yeah.
our whole handloom printing, dyeing, weaving, embroidery. Everything is like, we have amazing techniques, like complex, like resist dyeing, and many steps where you print and then you dye, and then you print and then you dye, and like ajrak, and I mean
Yeah.
clamp dye. I mean, it's like it's like an ocean. It's got so much, and north, south, east, west. But what is so surprising is that I didn't find anything which is where the rest of the world doesn't know anything about this. It's all within India. It was contained within India. And while people who wear saris know about it, where we know about these printing and dyeing and so on, all these techniques, if we are immersed in it here. But even handloom is not at all well understood outside. Nobody knows anything about it. And it's a blank canvas. It sort of reminds me the days when I started the first design company in India, which was Rain Keshwan, and nobody knew what design was. And everyone used to ask me, is it advertising? They didn't even know what it was. And similarly, now when you take things that are made by in a hand, no one knows what a hand loom is. They've never seen one. So we have a loom in the store to show people, this is how this thing was made. And they are amazed and shocked. And they said, really, that's insane that people are making stuff like that. And we tell them, not only are people making them, there are millions of people engaged in that
Yeah.
in our country. I mean, it's just like millions. So it's not a niche activity. It's just that but it's somehow it stayed in this little bubble within, mostly within India, and it has traveled. So we're seeing whether it is possible to shine a light on these things, because there's so much knowledge that's going to disappear very soon, because unless enough people support these industries and crafts, it's bound to become more and more mechanized, as it has in the West.
Yeah,
Because the
but
West had this.
our entire rural economy depends on it, right? I mean,
Exactly.
whether it's semi-organized
Yeah.
or even disorganized, our
Right.
our country literally depends on the farmer and the
Yes.
weaver,
Yeah.
right? And
Absolutely.
unfortunately, they are the
Yeah.
poorest in the
Really?
spectrum of things.
Yeah.
I remember you telling me from a previous conversation, and I love that bit because it's especially rung true with me, that not everyone wants to wear a sari, and that's why you wanted to make clothes for the modern international woman. Can you explain that?
Yeah. It's so, I think that, I do hope the sari continues,
Yeah,
and doesn't die out as it, or doesn't become
yeah,
like a ceremonial dress form, like in other, like in Southeast Asia and in other countries. Even in China, they don't wear the tradition, it's the
the
traditional dresses
transam.
only for certain occasions.
Yeah,
And saris are still worn very widely in the country, especially in the south and in
okay.
Bengal, and and in the villages you see that everybody's in a sari actually still, which is great. And the sari is a fantastic form of dress because it's from a designer's point of view, it's one size fits all,
Yeah.
and it folds so beautifully, your cupboard is so neatly stacked, and so it's very intelligent, and you can be draped in different ways. It's a phenomenally intelligent garment. But
Yes.
it's also true, so if you look at but I mean, if you look at contemporary women today who and their lives, they, like, I feel, especially in the cities, if you look at an urban contemporary woman who has choices, who's working and who's getting onto a bike and going here and there, I mean, they do, want to wear a dress which is not what their mothers wore and their grandmothers wore, because they see their life is changing, is so they don't see their mother was at home and she was just beautifully dressed in a sari, very gracious, very lovely. But here, when they're going to work all day and then go off and meet their friends and whatever, I think they feel that the sari is a bit restricting, and it evokes a time from their past. So they do want to wear more contemporary clothing, I think, which is, I mean,
Also,
not, I don't know
something
the
they
word
can be.
contemporary, but clothing that's, which works more with their idea of themselves as, more feminist women, or women whose lives are not in as patriarchal an identity as their mothers and grandmothers. So I don't know
And
if you,
it's also, it also has to fit in with the routine, right? A working girl's
yeah,
day is a 12-hour day, and
right,
it goes through so
yeah,
many moods and
yeah,
uh, actions in a day,
correct, yeah,
that a sari may be a little restrictive.
yes.
um, Take us through your
So,
processes at Varana. Where do you source your fabric from? Where is the manufacturing done? How does your international team collaborate with your Indian offices?
okay, so we have the design team is mainly in India,
Yeah,
except for my knitwear designer who's in Japan.
yeah.
But the rest of the people are here in India, in Bangalore, in our atelier. And we look after, here we source, or we create, weave, or we create, or we source the fabric from all over the country. So it could be from anywhere, it could be from north, south, east, and west. So muslins from Bengal. Then we do printing in Rajasthan. We do some dyeing and ajrak and other techniques in Kutch if needed. So we really, our footprint for sourcing and creating fabric is everywhere. And so the garments are all made in our workshop here, designed here. When I say here, it's right here next door. It's so we design and we do the garment making in our workshops here.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's how we do it. It's all made in house here.
Your Jamdani line is game changing. I've told you this before,
Yeah,
but this Bengali weave is probably the most beautiful fabric in the world. It's the queen of Indian textiles, and till now it's been mostly used only in saris. That you're making modern dresses out of it. So tell
yeah.
us, how you wanted to do this, why you arrived at doing this, and also it's UNESCO protected, right? The
Yes.
Jamdani, is that right? Like it's meant to be,
Yeah. It has
you
a
know, it's
tag.
it has a
It has a
tag.
tag. It has a tag, and it's UNESCO has identified it as a, as intangible cultural heritage to be preserved and encouraged and
Wow,
supported. So
wow,
it's one of those things that, because it's so difficult to weave and it's so
yeah,
special and it's
yeah,
so fine
yeah.
that it's really, it requires so much skill and patience, and it's amazing what those people can do. And
So
I
was it
marvel at it. Every
what?
day I marvel at what these people can do. Even just embroidery in my atelier, and we do very fine small things, like like we do just a small, say, piping, and that's embroidered with changing, say, colors. And you can't believe, even if I look at it with a magnifying glass, I can't believe it's handmade, because the stitches are so perfect and so even. It's, how are they doing it? It's just, they have amazing skills, and every day you marvel at it. When you see like how our carpets are worn, the hand knotted carpets, how they are made, it's just like mind blowing,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, and also your
So it's,
khadi line, your khadi denim is very popular.
yes,
You've also taken some sort of textiles which are thicker that can be made into jackets or
yes,
something more structured.
yeah,
But I want to take you back to your khadi line because I know it's an homage to Mahatma Gandhi celebrating his 150 years.
yes.
So tell me all about that collection.
So I'm very interested in khadi. One, because it's, of course, the connection with Mahatma Gandhi and all of that, the freedom movement, the story behind it. But in any case, just the fact that we have in India this extraordinary capability of making fabrics completely by hand without the use of electricity,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
still there. So actually, what we call khadi is the earliest form of making cloth in the
yeah,
world, like
yeah,
before industrialization, before machines were
yeah,
made and
yeah.
all. For centuries, people were making hand spun and hand woven,
Thousands of years. It goes
thousands of
back to
years.
the Indus
Yeah,
Valley.
right. So it's these things have pretty much died out. These ways of making are no longer have any currency in other countries. But in India, because one of the interesting things that happened, I heard, was that because we had such power shortages, around the time of independence, we didn't have enough electricity really in the country, and there were large parts of the country without electricity in their homes and so on.
How
And
little things have changed.
but because of that, one of the very few things, because of that, the government gave a boost to the handloom sector, and therefore, and said, uh, there were all these subsidies being given to the weavers to continue and all of that, because of the shortage of power. So as a result, a lot of people are still doing it. And so khadi, I just think it's an amazing fabric. And I think that, again, I think that there's a lot we can do with it, which we haven't done as yet. I mean, we means in the country, we haven't yet, you can weave it, and it's woven already in very fine, beautiful weights. But we can do more in terms of making it more robust, and weaving it in different weights and different textures, and creating amazing fabric from it. And that's what we're trying to do. And that's in the making of the fabric itself. And
Khadi
also, I think,
denim. Denim is so
yeah,
industrial,
yeah.
factory made, and to spin that whole narrative
And you
is,
should see that khadi denim. It is so beautiful. It's because in a denim is quite, it's got a wonderful, it's a wonderful fabric. It's tough and it lasts, and so on, in terms of the way it looks, which is why it's so popular worldwide. But when you do it in khadi, it is absolute. It gets that, the hand of the weaver, which is makes every meter unique, or every bit of that is, you can't, there never be an identical replica of two things. It's always because of where the this yarn differs in its, in a sort of wabi sabi kind of a way. So you get this wonderful striations which are there in the khadi denim, which is very special.
Are
And
they rain harvested? Because denim is a very thirsty fabric.
it is, but so the thing with khadi is that it uses short staple cotton, which is
Okay.
indigenous to India. And so now you have a lot of long staple cotton, which looks beautiful, but that requires more water. But the short staple cotton, which grew in India and has been there for
Yeah.
centuries
Yeah.
before any GM crops came or anything, those short staple are varieties, which we call desi cotton. Those are good for hand spinning and hand
Okay.
weaving. So, so we're hoping all these things, if we talk about these things, if we show it to people, and I really want to do, Namrata, is to take all this amazing stuff that we have, but elevate it to a level where it can really give you beautiful luxury,
Yeah.
like really true luxury. Because what could be more luxurious than something which is just, you know, made by hand, made
Yeah.
where no two things are the same. I
Yeah.
mean, people talk about luxury in terms of brand names, but mass produced luxury isn't really truly luxurious, no? Like in
Yeah.
the early days when you had like patrons of the weavers in Banaras and they were to weave beautiful brocades. Uh, uh, Everything was luxury because it was made for either bespoke for somebody
Yeah.
and made beautifully by hand,
Yeah. Yeah. But that's why
not mass
companies like
produced.
Varana are so important, and Good Earth, for example, because they take craft and they turn it into a high design, a highly coveted,
Yes.
a
Yeah.
very beautiful and a very expensive product. And I mean that in a good way, because that top down approach is very important. Even traditionally, crafts, the patrons of the crafts for the royalty, for the
Yeah.
wealthy, right?
Yeah.
The reason why crafts tried is because it was the rich people who liked them, and that's how they became expensive products even at that
Yes.
time.
Yeah. It's how
As-
you keep the mastery of a craft going and the
yeah.
standards of a craft. Because if everything has to be there are inexpensive versions of the same craft, which won't be as fine and as good. But to keep it at that level of the best level, and these people are capable of amazing levels. So they must be encouraged to maintain those levels and not dumb down to a average level, which is mediocre, and you see a
Yeah,
lot of it.
in the
Yeah.
Emporia and things like that, of
Yeah,
course.
exactly.
Varana has enjoyed such enviable press. It's been featured in the Financial Times, in Women's Wear Daily, and so many international, magazines and publications. It labels would pay an arm and a leg for you when you're just, a few years old. How did you manage that? How did you swing that?
I think we have a genuine story, and it's we have a bit of a mission, because and we have a genuine story, and I think we're authentic, and I think that people there's so many brands which don't really like I used to work in branding, remember? And I can't tell you how many brands there are which don't have a, a a core essence of belief. It's like whatever is going to sell, or whatever is trending today. Tomorrow it'll be something different. Day after it'll be something different. And if the people change, then it becomes something different because it depends on who's there at the time.
Yeah,
But I feel that I think Varana there's a white space there, which there's hardly anything that's out of India. You don't see many brands that are out in the world from here, from this part of the world, using the kind of textiles and techniques that we have. Because the West has copied a lot of our prints, for example. So they go to various places, and this has happened for centuries. I mean, not centuries, but very long, like many, many years. You'll see, mirror work and a version of it done I've seen by Alexander McQueen, or I've seen Diane von Furstenberg doing uh, a version of bandhani, but it's not real bandhani. It looks like bandhani, but it's printed. or you must have seen a lot of printed ikats, for example,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
you've seen. So
yeah,
the world has been borrowing our patterns, just the look of it, but
yeah.
not in the making of it. So it's and that's but they don't know also that it's from India. When this happens, you see, that's the only thing. Only I know it's from India, or you know, because you know that's bandhani when you see it.
Also, we
But the
had the
world,
British rule us and take all our textile traditions and
yes, of course,
industrialize them, right from
yeah,
chintz, paisley,
yeah,
uh,
absolutely,
gingham, which was our
yes,
Madras checks.
yeah, yeah.
I
It's a
was
lot
reading
of our
this.
textiles, the world's textiles, they're rooted here actually, and the
Yeah,
East India Company, thrived on taking the beautiful things that we made here, to Europe. So
yeah.
that's the tradition we have, and and I do think there's a place for us to gain that tradition again. I mean, like make things for the world, but I think the most important thing that I would stress here is the design, because you do have, if you don't have a high standard of design, you can't make that transition. Like you can't, design is the bridge that can connect this world to the new world, which to the globalized world. And design, so you can't underestimate the importance of design in this whole story. So
Varana is comes with investors. I mean, it's rather unique for a young label, to be born with this sort of leg up right from the start. Was it tough to convince people, or was it easy for you? Because I mean, I can understand apparel industry, but there are very few takers for a small boutique company.
yes, yes, I think we were fortunate that when we started, and I had this idea, and then I discussed it with Ravi Prasad, my co-founder, and because there's a whole lot of stuff in retail. It has to, the whole organization has to exist. It's not like, that I can just do it in my studio and make a few pieces. We wanted to really build a brand, to take out. So, but we did have so since we both have years of experience,
And this is
and
Ravi Prasad of Himalaya,
yeah,
right? I
that's
mean,
right. Yeah.
it's a big
It's
daddy to partner with.
Yes, and also, we're doing what we're doing with Varana, we're also doing with Ayurveda,
Yeah.
Namrata. And
Okay.
that isn't out even yet, but we've been working on it for the last 3-4 years to develop very special products. So when we started this, it wasn't just that, oh, I want to make a fashion label. It, the idea is that we have this incredible stuff in India, which we felt that we could make and deliver at a very high level in a contemporary way, using contemporary formats, so that any person in the world can use an Almora product or a Varana product. So that being the overall idea. So it's Ayurveda and textiles, where we have so much knowledge over centuries. So we feel that there is, and again, in both cases, while there are many people doing a lot of things, we felt that making it absolutely modern and contemporary, and in the case of Almora, like scientifically validated with clinical studies, dermatologically approved, and 100% natural. I mean, we didn't see again that there were a lot of people in that space. So because of that, and because I think of our track record earlier, uh, we had a good team, and we've hired very good people. So because of that, I think that we were able to get an investment to make it a reality, because it's we are not 22-year-olds going and starting something. And people were intrigued by the fact that after at this age, after having done a lot of work in one area, that I wanted to do something different. And so they were quite interested in knowing what that was going to be, and then supporting it. So we have some very enlightened investors who understand what we're trying to do, and who have been very encouraging. And without them, we wouldn't really have been able to open a shop in Mayfair and do it at the level that we're doing it. So
Yeah,
that's
that's
been very good.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Can you throw some light on your e-commerce, which you launched last year, right in the middle of the pandemic, right? Was that tough to launch, and how is that going?
So, the pandemic has changed the nature of online retail completely, because for years it was slightly difficult to get luxury, people to buy the luxury garments online, because it's the whole experience of going to a store, and which is beautiful, and then you try on things, and
Yeah,
you have a
yeah,
very nice experience altogether in the store. And the internet is very flat, so it's like, it's however much you try to jollify your website, it's never going to be that warmth that you get from personal human interaction. you know you can't get that. But
yeah.
what happened in the pandemic is that people had to shop online, or not at all. So everything went online, and it became like a habit that you're used to. Like now we live on, we're talking online, we're doing so many
Yeah.
things online, and which we never would have done earlier. When I was in Ray and Keshavan, I used to travel. Um, I used to take at least a minimum of 4 flights a week, minimum of four. I used to go to Bombay once a week, Delhi once a week, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And I traveled 9 hours to do a 1 hour meeting. And now it's Zoom, at the drop of a hat. I can talk to you in 1 hour's time. It's so easy. And and I've got used to it, and everyone's got used to it. So the same for online shopping. I think uh, it's leapfrogged to a level that, and become, people are much more comfortable with it than they would have been had there been no pandemic. It would have taken much longer to reach the state that we are now.
So they don't have to wait to come to London to buy
Yeah,
something from you. I mean, if I'm
absolutely.
a repeat customer, I
Yeah,
could just do it from anywhere in the world.
true.
So clearly that's opened up the whole
Yes,
world to you as well,
that is
right?
true. Yeah, that's
But
true.
but how has it worked for, a gorgeous sort of like a traditional business model like yours? Like how will you ensure, because the idea of a flagship is very emotional and
Yeah,
experiential,
yeah.
but how do you ensure that Varana will survive and thrive?
Well, I think that for us, the reason, we somehow held on to that store, though it was really expensive to do, because it's a whole townhouse in
Yeah,
Mayfair. So,
yeah.
but somehow we managed to hold on to it, because I think it's very important for us to for people to be able to, especially because they're not that familiar with our textiles and with our ways
No,
of
but
making.
you have very posh neighbors as well, right?
Yes,
Who is
exactly.
it?
So we have Victoria Beckham, and there was Jimmy Choo, Christian Louboutin. There's Paul Smith just down the road from us. There's also, that whole street has got Dover Street Market used to be in Dover Street, and
Okay.
now they've relocated to Haymarket. But that street and that area in Mayfair, which is just a few streets, that's where every brand wants to be.
Wants to
Any
be. That's
brand
right.
that's of a certain
Yeah.
level
Yeah.
wants to be there. And so we also made a very beautiful store, I think it's very important for us when people come into the store, they invariably say something about it. Always, they always comment on how beautiful it is. So it's so I think that helps to have at least one store like that,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
set the tone for the brand, and to where you can explain to people what you're doing. And
Yeah.
if you're just going to be in racks in the department stores, then it's just hanging there. But people, that whole element of telling people about what we're doing, about the crafts, about making by hand, it's very difficult to deliver the message. So that, I think that's important for us to have a mix of brick and mortar and online.
Yeah.
Online for the reach, but brick and mortar for credibility and for
The
telling the story,
narrative.
the
Absolutely.
narrative. Yeah. So I think we are
Absolutely.
looking at now a hybrid model of,
Wonderful.
yeah.
So, what's next from Varana? Who else are we dressing? Where are we going? How's the next year going to shape up?
So, COVID willing, then everything has to start I have to qualify everything because there shouldn't be a fourth wave and a fifth wave and a sixth wave and so on. And the things should work, the vaccines and all of that. And fingers crossed. And if that's the case, then we would like to increase our footprint in the coming years. We'd like to maybe take Varana to a few stores where there's a good fit for the brand. If
Will we see a Varana in India? I mean, the
it's
name is
something,
Indian. It's another
yes,
name for the Ganga. Am I right?
yeah, it's Varuna and the Yasi, the rivers that
Ah,
the confluence, and
confluence.
that's how Varanasi got its name, and
Varanasi,
Varana,
absolutely.
yeah, and so Varana got its name from there because I happened to be there when the whole idea for the brand crystallized. So that's why it's called that, and that's why our logo is like a river.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so, but yeah, so we do. So I think we have to basically we have to increase our footprint now. We have to be. We've been very quiet the last few years, and and the reason for that is we've really, really hunkered down and worked on the product and made sure that it's where it should be. So we worked and now we're happy with where it is. I'm happy with where it is, and I think that we've just going to have a launch. We're just stepping into a new thing. We've got making a line of accessories.
Okay, that's
Yeah, so we've
wonderful.
just done leather bags and leather goods. So that is something that can work online because there are no sizes, and it's a easier introduction to a brand.
Is that
Again,
also
everything
made
made
in
by
India?
hand. It's
Made in
made
India.
completely made in India, and it's
Oh,
exquisitely made. It's so complex, the weaves, and so beautifully done. And that's because we have people who can do it. I mean, it's amazing how the skills they have. Again, it's based on these basketry techniques of weaving, and it's quite fine and complex. So let's see, we're just going to launch it now in the fashion weeks in Paris and Milan. uh, that is in the next 2 weeks, two
oh,
three
that's
weeks
fantastic. Well
Yeah, so I'm
done.
very I hope people like it, and then we'll be retailing it after that. So
Come to
that's
India. When are we going to see your store in India?
a store for
Yeah.
Varana. Yeah. Well, I'm quite keen to come to India and to be here because and I think so I would like to, I'm exploring it at the moment. I'm just trying to study and see how should we do it, like to have some sort of an India strategy, because we had a capsule collection in a store in Bombay, La Mill,
Yeah.
and and they want to continue, and we are open to continuing to retail through them. So that's something that we will probably continue, but whether we have to figure out what we can do for this market, and whether it's something that people here will like and approve of, you know.
You're being humble, Sujata. People will love it. I'm a big fan. Thank you so much for doing what you do. It's such a special company. It's such a special product. And thank you for chatting with me today.
Thank about, who have a little, who know about the background of what we're trying to do and who understand it. And if we need all the support we can get to be able to, as you said, to be able to thrive and to be able to grow and all those things. So yeah,
No,
it'll
you
be
already
fantastic.
have your number one cheerleader in me.
Thank you so much. That's sweet. Thank you. Thanks, Namrata.
All right. Thank you and see you soon.
See you soon. Bye then.
If you enjoyed the show or not, write to me on Instagram, Twitter, or Clubhouse at Namrata Zakaria. For updates on Tell Me How You Did It, follow us at HT Smartcast. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Clubhouse. To listen to more podcasts, log on to htsmartcast.com or suno naye nazariye se.